This is the Gifted and Talented Program Overview for Brownwood ISD. Topics covered are who are my gifted students, compliance, program design, program goals, teacher responsibilities including differentiation and documentation, counselor and administrator responsibilities, screening and testing, furlough and exit policy, professional learning, and resources. Who are my gifted students? Gifted and talented student means a child or youth who performs at or shows the potential for performing at a remarkably high level of accomplishment when compared to others of the same age, experience, or environment, and who 1. Exhibits high performance capability in an intellectual, creative, or artistic area, 2. Possess an unusual capacity for leadership, or 3. Excels in a specific academic field. In addition to being high achieving, these students often experience asynchronous development, which could lead to one or more of the following, which is why services are recommended: executive functioning issues, perfectionism, anxiety, fear of failure, inability to work with others, underachieving tendencies. We also serve students with multiple exceptionalities that include speech, dyslexia, autism, emergent bilingual, 504, etc. In order to be in compliance, a district's gifted and talented program must follow guidelines from the Texas State Plan for the Education of Gifted and Talented Students. This plan will be referenced in the slides, and there's a link on the resource page. The purpose of this presentation is to inform staff in order to meet compliance of the Texas State Plan. This will take the place of the Back to School GT overview. Brownwood's program design consists of the following. We have both a pull-out program and regular classroom. The pull-out program is for 4th and 5th grade GT students. They will receive services in the pull-out program. This will be approximately 50 minutes once a week during enrichment time or the WIN time, if at all possible, but may extend to the class time. Classroom teachers should also provide differentiated opportunities. For kinder through 3rd and 6th grade through 12th grade, the teachers will be responsible for providing GT services to students. Those teachers in K through 3 and 6 through 12 need to have their 30-hour foundational training if they are a core content teacher, meaning they teach reading, writing, math, science, and social studies. Gifted students should be clustered in groups of 4 or more to ensure opportunities to work together. Differentiated instruction should be incorporated in the 4 core content areas. After teachers have received the 30-hour foundational training, teachers should receive a 6-hour update once a year. We just talked about the 4 foundation curricular areas in the previous slide. This just means that all core subject areas, teachers that are RLA, math, science, social studies, need to obtain their 30-hour foundational training in gifted and talented education. Principals will place those GT students with teachers who have received this training. If you are an AP teacher or honors teacher, you need to make sure that you have your 30 hours in training. For our program goals, we're going to extend, enrich, accelerate. Extension means we're going to take core learning to another level by making the lesson more challenging while still working on the same standards. Some examples include providing more challenging problems, applying concepts to real-world situations, and making a project based on content that's learned during class. Enrichment is adding something of interest to students by offering opportunities to explore their interest or to go deeper into topics beyond the core curriculum. Some examples include project based on individual interest, PBL, TPSP, or the Texas Performance Standards Project, and these may need to take place during WIN time for elementary classes. When we accelerate, we move through the curriculum at a faster pace. Examples might include skipping a grade, moving through iReady or Amplify on a student's level, taking honors or AP courses, or dual credit. For teacher responsibilities, we're going to talk about 2 separate things. We'll talk about instruction and then professional development. For instruction, teachers are responsible for providing differentiated instruction, providing learning experiences that lead to the development of advanced level products and/or performances. Products and performances targeted to an audience outside the classroom. So we might want to plan a show-off or a parent night. We need opportunities to accelerate in areas of student strength, flexible pacing available for students to work at their own pace and level, and we need to document the strategies that we are implementing in the classroom. For professional development, I know we've talked about this before, but teachers are required to have completed the 30 hours of professional learning prior to their assignment to the district's program. Teachers without that required training who are assigned to provide instruction and services to the gifted and talented students are required to complete the 30-hour training within 1 semester. Now that is if you start after the end of the year. So if you know at the end of the year that you are going to be working with GT students or you're going to be teaching an AP class, you need to have that 30 hours before school starts. Anyone that is hired during the summer has 1 semester to get the 30 hours. And then teachers who provide that instruction and services need to receive a minimum of 6 hours annually of professional learning in gifted and talented education that's related to state GT standards. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but there's many things that you can choose from. But the update is after you have the 30-hour training. Let's talk about how we document what we're differentiating. We want to think about how the learning for our GT students is different than other students who are not in the GT program. Here are some ways to document and communicate differentiated instruction. On the right, we have a list of, yes, please, let's do it like this. Any of these would be great options. First one, attach a rubric to your lesson plans. Second, attach a list of differentiated strategies to your lesson plans, maybe highlighting strategies you've used. Incorporate depth and complexity, like have a list of open-ended questions you can use with discussions. You may offer choice, such as a choice board, a project choice, a product choice, topic choice. And then, of course, be prepared to share a way that you have differentiated for your GT students. This does need to be with your lesson plans. So again, if you just want to attach a rubric or that strategy list that you can refer to on a regular basis, that would be perfect. On the left-hand side, I have a list of not differentiation. Sometimes hear things like, this is an advanced class, so they're getting differentiation. Everyone is doing a project. Amplify has high-level questions, and I just assign them to work with a struggling student. These are not necessarily ways that we can prove that we're differentiating instruction. So please make sure that you use something on the right that will help us to see what you've done differently. This page just refers to some documents that you might want to use. On the left, there's a rubric. This rubric is for inquiry projects, and this has several samples. I have a file for this. It has several samples that go from primary to high school. And then on the right, if you wanted to use something or you need it, this is a link in the resource section. It has just some differentiated strategies listed there for content, process, learning environment, product, and you could just keep this with your lesson plans and highlight things that you've used. Counselors and principals also have some responsibilities when it comes to the GT program. Counselors who work with gifted and talented students need to complete a minimum of 6 hours of professional learning that includes nature and needs of GT students. And after each legislative session, there needs to be an update. They also need to help with developing and implementing services to address the social and emotional needs of GT students. I believe now they're going to call that 21st century skills. And then they act as the committee chair on selection committees in determining student needs for GT services. For the principal, same thing, 6 hours of professional learning. It's the same as the counselors, and then an update after each legislative session. I need help with the scheduling, and so when we have a pull-out program, those principals help me with scheduling times for the GT students and what's appropriate and what classes that they can miss or when is their win time, and just sharing their schedules and their teachers' names. Also, when creating groups, I know counselors help with this too. GT students need to be grouped in groups of 4. TEA states that a group consists of 4. If you only have 3 students, then you put them in one class. But those 4 or more students need to be with a teacher that has that 30 hours of training that we've talked about in previous slides. And then sometimes principals act as the committee chair in place of a counselor on the selection committee when determining student needs for gifted and talented services. As far as screening and testing is concerned, we test a couple times a year. First grade through 12th grade students, the referral window opens late October, and testing will occur during the month of November. The committee will meet sometime in December, and students will begin services in January. Kindergarten student referral window will open in January with testing in late January and February, and those students will begin services in March. The kindergarten screening process will begin late fall. We screen every student in kindergarten, because that is TEA law that kindergartners are considered for the program. And the reason why we wait until spring is because there's not very many tests that can be given to kindergarten at that level. When thinking about your students in your classroom, if you are considering or the thought has crossed your mind that one of your students may be a gifted learner, you may want to refer back to the slide. This will help you understand the difference between very smart or gifted. Some of those things could include their vocabulary. Are they a year or more above other students in your classroom? Are they that far advanced? Do they have good problem-solving skills? Are they creative? Um, Not necessarily artistic, but are they creative and innovative in their thinking? Do they enjoy being around older students or younger students? Do they enjoy working alone? Do they enjoy working with others? Just how do they stand out that makes you feel like they are gifted? Sometimes we have very, very smart students that don't ever qualify because they're able to give you the answers based on what they have already learned. Some of our gifted kids, they're already beyond that. And so this is just a little form that will help you if you are considering possibly referring a student for testing. At times we have students that are struggling for one reason or another. We may need to look at a furlough or exit. So let's talk about furloughs first. Student furloughs are a break-in service. They can occur for various reasons in order to help a student catch up in the classroom. The committee and family would need to communicate to determine the length of time. And once that period of time is over, the committee would meet again to decide one of the following. Either they're going to return to the GT program to getting their services, continue the furlough, or exit from the program. Any furlough must be coded in PEIMS since it is a break in the program, and furloughs may not be given due to behavior. If you have questions about this, you can refer to the GT handbook. And we're going to move to exits. Exits may be requested by student or family. They may be recommended by teachers or administrators after a furlough has occurred. Exits must be coded in PEIMS, and if a student would like to re-enter the program, they have to go through the testing process again. This slide just clarifies on the professional development and the professional learning. We have the 30 foundational hours of learning, and then we have the 6-hour update. On the 30 hours of training, it needs to be completed either online or in person. You can find these at your ESCs or Region 15 on the workshop page. These 5 days are TEA specific. We cannot substitute anything for nature and needs and ID and assessment. If you are an AP teacher, in the past they have substituted day 3, 4, and 5 for your AP seminar. But if you are not an AP teacher, you need to get all of these 5 days. You do not need to be certified by assessment in order to work with gifted and talented students like your ESL training. That ESL certificate you have to have before you can work with ESL students. So we're not asking you to be GT certified. We just need you to have the 30 foundational hours of training. The 6-hour update is an annual update that happens the year after your 30 years is complete. So if you get your last 30 hours this year, then next year or next summer, you would want to get a 6-hour update. This learning needs to be related to GT standards and can come from a variety of sources. I have in the resource section some options. All documentation of professional learning needs to be emailed to me, Angela Fabiani at brownwoodisd.org. My email is here, and it will be on the last page. On this page of resources, we have links to the Texas State Plan for Gifted and Talented Education, Brownwood ISD's Gifted and Talented Handbook. There is a professional learning flyer for local 6-hour updates. These would be by video and then replying in a Google form. And then there's professional learning from Region 15 that includes the 30 foundation hours and many options for the 6-hour updates. And then the link for the BISD GT Google site for teachers. More resources. This is a link to TPSP, Texas Performance Standards Project, with lots of project ideas. There's a depth and complexity chart from TPSP. There's the sample rubric that we talked about with inquiry samples from primary to high school. There's the differentiation strategy list. You can make a copy so you can edit it. And then this slideshow, the program overview slideshow, is at the link following. I'm Angela Fabiani, and I'm the Gifted and Talented Coordinator for Brownwood ISD. If you need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out. There's my email, and I hope that you have a wonderful summer.